Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today I am joined by someone who truly embodies what it means to be a one-person HR powerhouse. Her name is Jewel. She's the head of people at CoinMe. Jewel has 15 plus years of experience transforming people operations across SaaS, renewable energy, and major tech companies, including Microsoft, SkyTap, and 3Tier. What I love about Jewel's story is that she's built and scaled HR functions in hyper-growth environments while maintaining what her colleagues call an infectious, uplifting attitude. At CoinMe, the first licensed Bitcoin ATM company in the U.S. and operator of the largest cryptocurrency cash network with over 50,000 locations. Jewel, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to learn more about you, and you can talk more about CoinMe. Let's just jump into it.
Wild. Thank you for such an energetic introduction. I feel like I could run out on a stage right now, like old Steve Ballmer style, right? Just pumped up. So yes, I'm currently the head of people at CoinMe, and you're correct. I've been working for startups for over 12 years. Often it happens that they are early stage startups. So I am often a team of one, and I typically get to build a small team. I have a very strong passion for creating equitable and inclusive workspaces. It's really important to me that my employees want to show up to work and they want to stay at work and they're engaged and that they know that the work they do is valued, like that they're adding value to the business. Spaces where people feel like they belong. At CoinMe, I head up all the people operations functions, focusing on creating that space for employees to succeed and innovate at the same time of having that sense of belonging that we were talking about. It's interesting. It's my first fully remote company that's like consistently fully remote. There's certainly a little bit of a curve from learning from there as far as how to form those relationships with the employees, but I really like it. And I'm consistently learning and seeking out those opportunities to even expand the way in which I'm thinking. Our mission at CoinMe is to be the world's trusted gateway to digital currencies and a better financial future, which is a lot to say. We operate the world's largest fully licensed cryptocurrency cash network with thousands of locations across the U.S. So we don't operate globally, just within the U.S. with some amazing partners like Coinstar. We also have CoinMe or crypto as a service. I often want to call it CoinMe as a service, but it's a B2B platform that really lets other businesses like banks or fintechs or payment apps easily add crypto features like buying, selling, holding payments to their own apps using CoinMe's licenses and our compliance teams and all of that. It's really like fascinating business, cryptocurrency. Find it just constantly changing and just invigorating.
Yeah.
It's a really great industry to be in.
Fantastic. And I can't wait to dig in. So here we go. Here's the first thing I want to ask you. So you've really scaled these people functions at companies ranging from Microsoft to renewable energy, startups, and now you've got crypto fintech. What is the common thread for you? What makes the difference between HR that just manages people versus people leadership that actually business transformation?
I think that one of the biggest challenges when scaling people, especially for startups, is to do it without bureaucracy, if possible. When I was at Microsoft, just to clarify, I wasn't actually in HR, so I didn't get the chance to technically scale people, but I did get to be actively involved in like onboarding and bringing them into the company. So, which was really my first foray kind of into like a look of what HR is like. But in startups, speed is essential. I mean, I think every company would say speed is essential, but in startups, speed is essential. So trust, compliance, and consistency across your team, across time zones, and ensuring that like leadership has clear guidelines on how you're going to scale is probably the biggest challenge. At a startup, you often hear something like, "We need this position, we need it yesterday," and with my HR hat on, I want to be like, well, we got to do this. We got to do this right. We can't just hire our buddy down the street that we worked with in the past. And so what I really work on when I come into an organization at the beginning is what is a fast way that we can scale, but also meet compliance guidelines that might be there. Are we ensuring that we are background checking these people before we bring them on board, which I think is key? But also, are we taking the time to interview them in a way that benefits us as a company, but also them as a candidate? Because we want them to have a good experience. And the crypto industry in itself is quite small. So we definitely want them to have a good experience because word will get out if they don't. So really, that's kind of the largest challenge, I think, is how can you scale people quickly without getting drowned in bureaucracy.
So here's one thing that super fascinates me about CoinMe's mission. So like you mentioned earlier, you're making crypto accessible to people who may not have bank accounts or traditional access to financial systems, right? That's essentially a financial inclusion play right there. How does that mission shape how you think about building an inclusive culture internally? Does the outside mission actually influence the inside culture?
It does. It is palpable. It's wild. So most of our employees, actually, if you were to ask them what drew them to CoinMe or what they love about CoinMe, they would say probably top of mind would be the accessibility that the CoinMe platform offers to individuals. CoinMe's got customers that just kind of span the range of financial diversity. Mm-hmm. But we really pride ourselves when it comes to our crypto exchange of making ourselves accessible to people who wouldn't otherwise think of cryptocurrency as an option, like diversifying your portfolio, which is really important, but also something that like wealthier or more financially savvy people or engineers, people who already had a bunch of money did,
Right.
like we wanted to make sure that everyone had an option to get into that. And I think the easiest way to describe it is most people used to think that you needed to have thousands of dollars to get into crypto. I gotta invest $1,000. Where really you could start with $1. You could start with $10. It gets converted to a fraction of the Bitcoin or the crypto that you're purchasing. Like, I mean, I can't even purchase a full Bitcoin. That would be quite expensive these days. But you buy a fraction of it and you invest in it and then it's yours. And you can continue to grow that. And so that's our values in our company and creating an accessibility into cryptocurrency is something that the employees, I think they think about it almost daily. They love it. And our values at our company are reach, which is all about that growth mindset, going above and beyond. And we think about that internally for us, of course, right? We're innovators, we're growers, but also externally for our clients. A lot of them that are new to crypto are taking a chance on us, or this is maybe their first foray into crypto. So great. They are also embracing that growth mindset. The second value for us is integrity, which is all about us being trustworthy to our clients. So externally, they have to trust us. And internally, we have to trust ourselves. So we hold ourselves accountable. If I don't get something done on time, I'm going to own that and say, I'm sorry, I didn't able to get it done in time. This is how I'm going to fix it. And that really creates a space where people feel like they both have autonomy, but also they have collaborators they can work with. Our third is simplicity, which is, I made a face because internally we try to keep things as simple as possible. But from an engineering and development standpoint, I think that is the most challenging thing. I'm not an engineer though. And externally, we want and need our products to be simple. In order for it to be accessible, it's got to be simple. And then excellence is just, we are asking the best of ourselves and we're trying to show up every day and do our best. And and so we really embrace those, and they all kind of feed into that accessibility that we want for crypto and digital currency. We want people to know that it's attainable to them.
I like this. I hear this concept of shared values, which we know fuels accountability because people can be accountable to the shared mission through those values, and then that will fuel innovation. So that's really good stuff. Let's talk about something that every HR leader in crypto or fintech is currently grappling with, which is the regulatory landscape is a moving target. So CoinMe operates in 49 states with different compliance requirements. How do
Yes.
you build people systems that can adapt when the rules keep changing without creating so much bureaucracy, back to your Microsoft situation, that you actually lose the startup agility? How do you do that?
First of all, very complicated question because there are many different ways you can approach that. But yes, well, like crypto companies are very regulated, and we do a lot of amazing things because of that regulation. We have a lot of robust compliance teams. In fact, you will find if you dig deep that most crypto companies actually alert officials, FBI's or local officials to potential money laundering, to potential scams. And that's not because there's more scams in crypto. In fact, statistically, there is less scams in crypto than there are tied to fiat, the US dollar. But it's because, unlike the US dollar, we have teams that can sit there and look at the data as it goes in and out. And so we can flag patterns. For us as an HR compliance side, there's a couple different routes to take it. I see a lot of crypto companies using professional employer organizations and EORs. So think Rippling, Deal, TriNet, depending on which one fits your companies and your company's values. And those companies are very helpful because they will alert you to compliance changes for those states in which you have individuals. So you know if you have to maybe offer them more paid sick time off, or if someone's leaving, if they have to be paid at a certain time. Those kind of companies make it very easy for an HR team of one and even like a small company to manage the compliance, the basic, let's say, paper compliance issues of HR. And they do often offer some sort of tangential support when it comes to HR things like if I need to have a performance improvement plan or something. I'm a much more personable kind of HR person, so I don't really utilize those, but I know they offer them and I know people use them. And then I've had my own HRIS. So maybe I have Paylocity or Paycom or something like that. Those platforms also, even though you're just using them, you're kind of the full administrator of them, they also have alerts to compliance changes. So it's actually quite easy to stay up to date on anything that's changing, even like country wise, as you have people spanning the globe. And because we live in America, we have to have benefits, and those benefit for brokers that we use will also send out compliance things. So there's multiple areas in which people are sending information to HR leaders, and you just got to find what works best for you, and then you can tag it. My personal practice is to renew employee handbooks at the beginning of the year and then just kind of plug in any changes at that time that are
Yeah.
related to state regulations. I also, and this might be surprising to some people, I run every year an HR 101 manager training, like a manager summit for all my people leaders, where we talk about laws. It's not like, how do you manage or how do you have a difficult conversation? It's like, here are the laws that are protecting people in this country. And they are engaged every time. They love it. The first time I did it, I was quite surprised. I thought it was going to bore them. They love it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a need. That's a value add to your
Mhm.
team. You absolutely need it, and your leaders don't necessarily have time to be out studying and understanding the law. So it's a really good value add for them. So you've been ranked on the FT's America's Fastest Growing Companies list. How do you ensure that your people strategy stays ahead of the growth curve? What's your approach to building for where you'll be in 2 years, not just where you are today?
Oh, it's a good question. Because early on, our people strategies are almost reactive and speed driven. And then ideally, you start to shift to that anticipatory decision making strategy. I actually feel like it's kind of a simple answer. One, as a people leader, I'm in constant contact with all of my executive leadership team. I meet with them weekly or biweekly, depending on their schedule. And so I always know what their plan is. And our team meets. And so we have very clear public, actually, the whole company roadmap guidelines. So I know what's on the roadmap and what's coming down in the future. Now, we are a startup. Those things can change. So it's very important that everything be approached with the agile mindset. And you've got to be okay with ambiguity, but that doesn't stop us from planning future headcount growth, right? When my sales team says we want to roll out this function. For example, when we were rolling out crypto as a service, here's the things we need. then we can sit down with the engineering team and we can say, what do we need from a people scale? But also, how can we scale up the people we have? Right.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and I am quite proud to say that over 65% of CoinMe employees have been promoted since they've started at this company, like have grown their careers here. And so we look at how we can grow our company. We look at how we can hire and plan for hiring ahead of time.
Mhm.
And sometimes as a startup, we can't get all the people in that we need to get, right? So we adjust. Today today's decisions are more risk weighted and strategic, essentially. And we
Yeah.
still move fast and that we still sometimes have to hire some right away. But it's all about factoring in that like regulatory experience, the manager's capability, and like the long-term cultural impact of what we're doing. I also, and I realize not possible probably at Microsoft, or maybe it is. I work for small companies. So every single year I meet with every single employee. I have check-ins. And
Yeah.
in those check-ins, I ask kind of the same questions, but I learn a couple of things that are valuable and have actually shaped changes that we've made at the company. Like, what resources are we missing? What do you need to do your job? What do you have? What are your growth plans? And our managers are having these conversations as well. It's great for employees to know that they can be open and then what they say may actually impact the
That
change
they're
at the
actually
company.
heard. Someone
Yeah.
heard me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a quick interaction for our audience if you're listening, and we think you are. Think about your organization's people strategy. What HR driven decisions have created the most meaningful business impact? Share your experiences with us on Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Go onto social media and do that. Okay, I want to ask you about one thing before I jump into the last, my favorite segment. So you've talked about how companies need to have honest, transparent conversations about workplace equality, not just check boxes, but actually dig into
Yeah.
the data. At CoinMe, you run regular pay equity analysis. What did those early conversations look like, and what advice would you give to HR leaders who want to move from "we should do this" to "here's what the data shows"?
At CoinMe, I was very lucky, and I've been lucky at all of my companies where people are like the leadership is like pro. They're like, great, let's do this. Let's look at the equity. Now, since we were a startup, like most startups, we can't always pay for
Sure.
large platforms like Radford. And I mean, I've used Radford before. A lot of platforms are great, but they're not quite yet up to speed with crypto digital currency. And that
Mhm.
is because when it comes from benchmarking and salary transparent, it's like the Wild West in terms of what people pay people. Some companies' philosophy is we make an offer they can't refuse, which really
Right.
throws benchmarking data kind of wild. But bringing it up, when I first joined CoinMe, I joined in October. So we were going to do reviews at the beginning of that next year. And I was like, let's look at everyone's pay data. The most difficult part of that is really the discussion after you've reviewed everything. And we seem to have some deltas here we need to make up. And it's
Mhm.
not because people have malicious intent or when they're hiring employees. It's not that at all. It's because startups, they want to save money and they have a set comp band. But if someone comes in and they say, oh, you can pay me this amount, it's very enticing. Oh, I can get that person cheaper. That's phenomenal. And also you have people who are more likely or apt to negotiate. And traditionally, those would have been men, but I certainly see a lot more of people across the board negotiating now their salaries and their like, incentives, which I think is a good sign. So we approached it from a very transparent thing. We put together all the data. We compared our current salaries. We looked at maybe where we should be in the industry to be competitive. And then we made a proposal to the
Yeah.
company and got the leadership involved the whole time. They're able to look at it as well because I don't want anyone surprised. And then we get it, we get what we can approved. And if we can't approve it all, sometimes there's a huge delta. Or if you're a startup, sometimes what happens if you've gone through a fast growth phase, and let's say you've got to 100 people, but then you have to go through a reduction of force and you're back down to 50, you're going to end up with some huge deltas there because you went from having 5 junior engineers to like maybe 1 or 2. And so sometimes you have to adjust those salaries over time. But what we do, and I think it's very important to do that, is we tell the employee We say, look, your salary is 10,000 less than it should be, but we're going to correct it over the course of this
Yeah,
cycle. So we let them know. And I think that that's crucial that the employees know as well, because it shows that you're paying attention to their compensation. As much as I want to believe people work for the passion and the fun, like
they also work for the money. That's right.
need money. And
Yes,
so
we got it. Yes.
so we keep the process transparent, and every year we do it. Every year when we're going through our annual review cycles, even though I feel confident now that people are equitable, I will go through because things can happen throughout the year and it might not register in my mind. And
Sure.
and then when we're looking, if a manager's like, I really want to increase this person's salary, a lot of the time the conversation now in a smaller company is okay, but you also have to think about increasing this person's salary, or we've got to get them to where they need to be so that we can maintain this equitable pay structure that we have.
Yeah.
And again, very lucky that my entire team, all the way to the CEO, are incredibly supportive of these processes.
This is really awesome. All right, here we go. We're going to jump into the decision making persona test. So, we're going to explore your decision making style. I'm going to ask
Oh,
you 4 questions, which represent different approaches. After each one, you're going to tell me that approach, how it resonates with how you actually make decisions. You're going to scale it from 0 to 100%. Now, you only get 100% across all 4 of them. Okay. So,
no.
you gotta track on your 100%. Okay. So, are you ready?
Decision scale, I get 4 options? Okay. I didn't know I was gonna be quizzed, but I'm down for it. Let's go.
That's okay. It's just a fun little exercise. Don't worry. There's no failing. There's no such thing. So here we go. It's called the feeler. This is the first persona. It's called the feeler. It's a values driven leader. So this persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So the question is, when I'm considering a new policy or culture initiative, I ask myself, does this support CoinMe's mission of making cryptocurrency accessible to everyone? Even if there's a cheaper or faster solution, will it honor our commitment to humanizing the workplace and treating people equitably? So, Jewel, how much does that values based approach resonate with you?
That's not fair because someone say like 100% and then we're all done. But knowing that there's potential other options, and that is, if I'm honest, that's a required kind of question for all of our decisions. I mean, I know that I'm a big feeler, but I do take the business like needs in, and stuff as well. So I'm gonna put that one at like, let's do like a 33%. That's fun. I'm doing an odd number.
Okay. There you go. So you keep track of the math since you want to do odd numbers and
I'm
stuff.
doing it.
Okay, here we go. The next one is called the planner. It's a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead. So here's the question. When making decisions about talent planning or organizational structure, I map out how this will play out over the next 3 to 5 years. Given how fast crypto regulations and market conditions change, will this decision give us flexibility or will it box us in? How much does that forward thinking scenario planning approach really resonate with you, Julie?
As an industry, we kind of struggle because things change so quick. So we plan for the future, but we also just know we have to be agile. So really the planning are the decisions we making something that we can adjust and change as the industry changes. So let's put that one at 20%.
Cool beans. Here we go. Here's your next one. It's called the counter. It's the challenger of assumptions. So this persona questions conventional wisdoms and looks for contrarian opportunities. So when evaluating our HR approach, I ask myself, what assumptions are we making about what motivates people in the crypto space that might be completely wrong? What is traditional HR doing that we should actively avoid because our workforce and industry are fundamentally different? So, Jewel, how much does that assumption challenging style sort of resonate with your decision making?
That happens a lot. Son of a gun. Let's put that one at 33% too. But now I only have 14% left. So I hope this next one is.
You ready?
Yep.
Here it is. It's called the data driver. It's an evidence-based decision maker. So this persona
Oh.
relies on metrics, analytics, and evidence to validate decisions. So before making decisions about benefits, compensation, or training, I want to see the data. What do our pay equity analysis, what does it actually show? What do engagement metrics tell us about what's working? I want evidence, not just instincts driving where we invest. So, Jewel, how much does that data-driven approach resonate with how you make your strategic decisions?
Go back to now I'm over 100, but I only have 14% left. And I will say we do look at data. I did mention that data for the crypto industry there isn't a lot of solidified data. So what we do as a company is we look at benchmarking data. We look at what we can find. We actually utilize AI to help as well. And those conversations I have with the employees, we actually include our employees. So our employees provide data to us, what's important to them, But I guess I'm stuck at 14%. So that's all I got left.
There we go. So from the looks of it, you are a 33% feeler, 20% planner, 33% counter, 14% data driver. That's awesome. Thank you
Right.
so much for doing that. I've got one final question for you. So you've helped these organizations across tech, energy, and fintech to really build their people foundations. If you could give one piece of advice to leaders who want to leverage strategic people leadership for real organizational transformation, what would it be?
Don't confuse speed with progress. So building just enough structure to protect your people, your culture, your business, and then iterate. Like the best operations, I think, scale invisibly. The friction, they create clarity and allow for teams to do their best without feeling the system around them. And so because I have primarily grown this career with early stage startups, that would be my advice is don't confuse that speed with progress. Just because you're moving fast doesn't mean you're actually progressing forward. You need to make sure that you have that foundation and that structure in place. And of course, for me in HR, it is all about like protecting the people and the culture and making sure it aligns with the business needs and the mission going forward.
Fantastic. Jewel, thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate your approach to people strategy, which combines this startup scrappiness with deep expertise and really always keeping the human at the center. It's actually inspiring, and I love to see this inspiring work continue. Where can our listeners learn more about you and more about CoinMe?
Go to coinme.com. There's actually, I didn't know about this until very recently, but there's a webinar today, and I'm sure it will be recorded and posted online. And that is about CoinMe and our new wonderful news that we are being acquired by Polygon,
Oh,
which is a
congratulations.
phenomenal company and very much aligned from a cultural and value standpoint. But because we are a tech company, they can go to YouTube and Google stuff. They can go to the internet. They could go to a Coinstar machine at their local grocery store if they're in the US and
right.
buy some crypto. It's very easy to find information on CoinMe, and we do put out webinars. We do have a great marketing team that shares out information. So they can definitely do that. For me, LinkedIn, people can reach out to me if they need to in that way, but I don't have a website. I should,
That's
but
okay. Well, thank you so much. And for our listeners, we want to thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe it, rate it, share it with your network. And let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. So until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.